Hello, I'm Brandon. I'll be showing you the amazing feats of architecture that you can find in Manchester and telling you some of the amazing stories that are behind these buildings. Manchester is a city that is home to an overwhelming amount of history, and all of this can be seen and told by the buildings created over the years. Whether it be the John Rylands Library, which began construction in 1890 and is still a staple of the city centre, or the Etihad Stadium that was built in 1999, all of these buildings have a unique story that I'm going to be sharing with you. We'll be starting our journey at the centre of operations for Manchester's City Council, the Town Hall. The Town Hall was built in 1968 and is currently home to the Manchester City Council along with a few other local government departments. The main reason for this being constructed was due to the fact that the old Town Hall outgrew the city, and as a result of this, the growing council. Heaton Park is home to a folly of what was the first Town Hall. The original Town Hall was constructed in 1822 by an architect called David Bellhouse for the cost of £40,000, which is the equivalent to around £5 million in today's money. This town hall was initially built in order to accommodate the government's operations. However, it was replaced by what is now a bank for Lloyds TSB when the council required more space in order to operate effectively. Many people, such as architect Edgar Wood, campaigned to save part of the building, leading to some of it being dismantled and reassembled in Heaton Park, where it can still be viewed to this day. When the council recognised the need for a new town hall, they held a competition for architects to put forward their ideas so that they could choose the best concept and eventually build a town hall that the city would love and appreciate. The winner of the competition ended up being Alfred Waterhouse. Despite finishing 4th out of 137 entries, the reason for him being eventually declared the winner was because his design was found to be the much superior one in terms of architectural quality, layout, and the usage of light. This wasn't the end of the story for the new Manchester Town Hall, as yet again the council's operations outgrew the current building's capacity and needed to be expanded. In 1927 the city held yet another competition to decide whose design would be used for the extension. The winner of this was English architect Emmanuel Vincent Harris and was praised as his best work by his peers. Emmanuel's work didn't stop at the town hall. Just like the town hall and its extension, Manchester's council yet again put their faith in a competition to decide whose design would be used for Manchester's Central Library. As a result of this competition, Emmanuel won again and had his design chosen for what is an iconic building that sits right in the centre of Manchester. The dome shape of the Central Library was actually inspired by one of the most iconic pieces of architecture in the world, Rome's very own Pantheon. It's safe to say that the resemblance between the two buildings is quite noticeable and allows it to stand out even amongst Manchester's most intricate designs. The library is currently used as a headquarters for the city's Library and Information Service, and in 2010 it received a refurbishment worth £50 million in order to not only keep its historic features, but to also give it the modern design that it needs in order to maintain its allure. Although the Central Library may be the most important library in Manchester, it's not even remotely close to being one of the oldest. What you're seeing now is Chetham Library, named after Humphrey Chetham, who established the library under his will. By doing this, Humphrey Chetham became the reason that the oldest public library in the English-speaking world was ever created. The library has been open to the public since 1653, and while still being open now, it is mainly a tourist attraction. In the summer of 1845, Frederick Engels and Karl Marx used this library as a meeting place, and the window seat used by the two is still visible to this day. The visits that took place in this library ultimately led to one of the most controversial books in modern history, the Communist Manifesto. Manchester is home to two of the most elite football clubs in the world, with Manchester United being the most popular football club in the entire world, and Manchester City becoming a football giant due to the recent purchase of the club. It's extremely safe to say that football plays a big part in the recent history of Manchester. In a city that's obsessed with football, the recent move of the National Football Museum from Preston to Manchester has given the Urbis building a rejuvenation. The Urbis building was originally constructed in 2002 in order to house a museum of the city. However, it was unable to bring in the amount of visitors it was originally intended to, and as a result of this quickly took the opportunity to become the National Football Museum. and reopened in 2012. The shape of the building is extremely unique and allows the building to flourish. It was designed by Simpson Howe and Partners, who have also had a part in the Beaton Tower that I will be visiting later. One of the two footballing giants in Manchester never used to be a giant. In 2008, Sheikh Mansour purchased the club for £210 million, and since then, the club has steadily dominated not only English football, but European football too. Manchester City, the Mancunian football giants, call the Etihad Stadium their home. The Etihad Stadium can house just over 55,000 people, due to an expansion in 2014 that allowed room for 10,000 more seats. Construction on the stadium started in 1999 and it was finally opened in 2002 as an athletic stadium. Just over a year later it was renovated so that it could be used as a football stadium. The stadium was designed by Arup Sports and according to them was designed to be an intimate, even intimidating, gladiatorial arena, embodying the atmosphere of a football club. It's safe to say that they definitely reached their aim and have created one of the most iconic pieces of architecture in the UK. Each week, thousands of people come from all over the world to watch Manchester City play football, and it all happens under the roof of this magnificent stadium. You can see from the picture there are cords attached to the roof of the stadium. These cords are actually used to hold the roof in place, and while looking stylish, it was described as being a groundbreaking piece of architecture by the New Steel Construction magazine. While Manchester City may be a footballing giant, Manchester United has been a staple of the footballing world since football began. Manchester United have been lucky to be able to call Old Trafford their home since 1909, and it can hold up to 74,000 people, the largest capacity of any club in England. The construction of the stadium cost £90,000, which would be £10 million today, and was designed by Archibald Leach. It was originally constructed because the new chairman, John Henry Davies, decided that after the club's recent triumphs, they needed to be situated in a stadium that reflected the stature of the club. This statement still holds true today, as the size and allure of the stadium still manages to attract thousands of people week in and week out. Around the corner from Old Trafford is Manchester's biggest shopping centre, the Trafford Centre. The Trafford Centre is a beautiful building that is worth over £2.3 billion. The building uses a Rococo architecture style in order to look lavish and attractive. However, architects originally thought that due to how fancy the building was going to look when it was complete, it may alienate the shoppers. John Whittaker, the chairman of Peel Holdings who developed the building, had to convince these architects that it wouldn't make shoppers feel out of place when they step into the retail park. The planning process for the retail park was one of the longest planning processes of any building in UK history. The reason for this was mainly due to the fact that the council was worried that by having an out-of-town shopping centre that's near many small villages, it could cause quite a lot of traffic issues due to how close it was to the M60. Eventually the development was given the green light, but not until it had to be agreed upon by the House of Lords. The inside of the Trafford Centre has a very Greek style to it and really adds to the experience of any shopper that's there. The Orient food court of the Trafford Centre is designed to look similar to a luxury cruise ship. The reason for this being done is because of where the Trafford Centre is situated. Not far from the Trafford Centre you can find the Manchester Ship Canal, a canal that connects Manchester to the Irish Sea. This cruise ship inspired food court, along with traditional Greek architecture and sculptures that make up the interior of Trafford Centre, definitely ensure that its architecture is a focal point of Manchester that's easily worth visiting for anyone that wants to enjoy the city to its full potential. The final building that we're going to be visiting is also my favourite. Most commonly known as the Hilton, the Beaton Tower is an overwhelmingly stunning building that sits at 169 metres tall, making it the tallest building outside of London, and was designed by the same group that designed the Urbis building mentioned earlier, Simpson Howe and Partners. The Beaton Tower is so tall that on a clear day it can be seen from up to 10 neighbouring counties. While the height is impressive, the actual design of the building is even more impressive. On the 23rd story of the building, there is 4 extra metres of floor that hangs above the lower, thinner section of the building. You can see this from the image. The lead architect, Ian Simpson, actually lived in the top floor of the building and even had a semi-indoor garden that contains olive, lemon and oak trees that were actually imported from Italy and lifted to the top floor by a crane before the roof was glazed in 2006. While the Hilton occupies the first 22 floors of the hotel, Cloud 23, an extremely revered bar, occupies the 23rd floor of the building. All floors above this are actually apartments that have a stunning view of the Manchester skyline. Thank you for joining me through my journey of the amazing buildings that make Manchester, Manchester. I hope that you've not only learned a few new things about the city, but have also found an appreciation for all the hard work, dedication and history behind this magnificent city.